On the long list of things to love about Community, one of the things that has always made it so enjoyable but surprisingly sophisticated is that even the silliest episodes feel like they progress the story. They deepen the characters, their connections, and do so pretty organically. Like in Intro to Knots, the whole episode is just a Christmas gathering at Jeff's new apartment, which turns into full-on psychosocial roulette when Jeff admits he bombed his part of the history assignment.
I will give an A right now to the first person that unties me. The rest of you will fail.
And minus all the silliness, we see all sorts of dynamics play out just from this one episode. We see Jeff's laziness, but also we see how comfortable he is confiding in Britta. We see Annie's desire for valedictorian and competition with Shirley, Troy's doubts about his relationship. What I'm basically saying is that there's no true filler episode in Community. Nothing feels like just a pointless waste of time. But even things that seemingly had no long-term consequences and were ultimately written off ended up carrying significantly deeper meanings than intended. In this case, I'm talking about the darkest timeline. One of the show's running meta subplots, The Darkest Timeline, was the result of the remedial chaos theory episode in season 3, where the study group splits reality into 6 by rolling a dice to see who gets the pizza. In one of the rolls, the collection of the worst events happen, making that timeline canonically the worst and the darkest. In a show like Community, of course, we can suspend our disbelief and see the darkest timeline as both real and not, with it eventually being written out as the manifestation of Jeff's fear of leaving Greendale behind during his graduation. But I want to focus on that before picture, because whether by accident or deliberately, I think the darkest timeline ended up being truly the best illustration of each character's deepest fear and insecurity made reality, the worst version of each character. And it's not that they're evil, but these are the versions of themselves they are truly terrified of becoming.
Say 304? No, 303. I wrote it down twice.
For clarity, the remedial chaos theory episode was at the start of season 3 when Troy and Abed were having a house party at the new apartment, and then it was Jeff's idea to roll a simple dice to see who would need to go downstairs to get the pizza, because by using only 6 he knew he would never have to go. The real fuckery happens when he actually rolls it, because each time a new person goes downstairs to pick it up, something else happens upstairs. Sometimes it was more or less nothing, and sometimes it was The outcome of who leaves is not necessarily correlated with anything, though some have pointed out, for example, the symbolism with the darkest timeline being the one where Troy left, because Troy is often the one considered purest of heart. But all that really matters is that there is a darkest timeline and everything has gone to shit there.
To Pierce. May he rest in Pierce.
Shirley, don't you think you've had enough?
Of you.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abed, I'm on it.
Evil Abed is kind of who started the Darkest Timeline's quest to conquer after the fact, so we see more of him than the other Dark Timeline clones independently. It was through his direction that everyone, quote, commits to play evil. But like I said, the point of the Darkest Timeline is not that they're actually evil, but that each of these versions of themselves represent the fear, insecurity, or nightmare of themselves. In Abed's case, normal Abed has always known he's different. That's obvious, of course. And that's kind of what he spends the majority of the series navigating. And the beautiful thing is how much solace he finds in his friends, who show him the patience he requires. The best thing he ever did was surround himself with people who accept him regardless of his quirks or gimmicks, because before that, Abed was bullied for being different, and so he knows what it feels like to be treated as an outsider.
Everybody wants me to be happy. Everybody wants to help me. But usually when they find out they can't, they get frustrated and stop talking to me. Or they trick me into buying them ice cream and then shove me into a clothes dryer.
But then, what is he most afraid of? Being bullied again?
We're inside a locker. It's where I spent a lot of time in junior high.
You think this is where we'd put you? You know that's absurd, right?
This is gonna sound really fucked up. I think evil Abed is a mirror to normal Abed's fear of accepting those bullies had some justification for what they did to him. That being different somehow makes you evil, and that means people have the right to persecute you for it, accepting the false idea that just because he is different, that somehow means he's bad, which is probably why evil Abed spoke in this monotone, apathetic way, like his imagination is gone, like life has no meaning.
You know what, maybe I should talk to good Abed instead.
Where I come from, his name is Lame Abed.
Giving up hope that he deserves respect or humanity, and so he's playing the part he thinks the world wants of him, which is very fucked up, especially when you look at the barbaric overtones about how the real world actually does this. It treats people with any variety of mental condition as evil and dangerous.
It's a metaphorical locker. It's a place where people like me get put when everyone's finally fed up with us.
And it's sad to think that in one of the universes, Abed agreed with them.
When the world gets bad enough, Abed, the good go crazy. But the smart, they go bad.
Two. 1, 2. Annie.
Okay, fine.
I know I'm like the 10,000th person to say this, but Annie is a bit of a psycho.
Because not only will I beat you, I will make you cry.
Of course. But that alone is not even that strange, considering the study group.
So we're all insane.
The jarring part to me, and to a lot of others, is not that she has a wicked streak, but because throughout the series, she somehow manages to walk this thin line between being both this altruistic, soft-spoken cleric type,
There's something real in there. Maybe that's what scares you.
and this uber psycho, devious, will she won't she spike your cereal with fentanyl type. She already did drug the study group once. I'm pretty sure she was the ass crack bandit, and mark my words, in the Community movie, her job will be a position of power. Hashtag the Annie Edison Communist Party. But here's the thing, having a desire for power is often just confused with a need for control, which is even more true when you realize these two things reinforce each other.
I am being assertive, and I am making eye contact, and it is achieving results.
I think that's ultimately how Annie operated though, right in the middle. That's why she comes across as like so nice, but also But where was that need coming from? It was mostly because in high school, she had so little of either. She hated the feeling of being totally disrespected and powerless, with her Adderall addiction and burning frustrations eventually sending her into a full-on breakdown. And this is exactly why, in the darkest timeline,
Annie's locked in a mental ward because her guilt drove her insane.
Annie got locked away and was deemed clinically insane, because that was Annie's greatest fear, losing her grip on reality so much that she became actually crazy and dangerous. All her hard work to be the best student, to be dedicated, organized, all taken away. That was what she was truly afraid of, becoming a chaotic, unrecognizable, passive participant in her life, losing all control. But was this so different from who normal Annie was from time to time? Yes, absolutely. What matters is not how Annie and Dark Annie are alike, but how they are not.
Three. 1, 2, 3. Pierce. Crap.
Even if I still think to this day that Community is a near perfect sitcom, I know I am totally biased because Pierce is just one example of a lot of the show's wasted potential. And I know it's not a perfect show, I just love it so much. Pierce was pretty neglected and could have been given so much more growth by the end, instead of just being a bad punchline. All the episodes involving Gilbert were way more entertaining than some whole scenes with Pierce in them. In fact, the only thing he did I really liked was that he occasionally gave some heartfelt compliments and guidance, like when he gave Britta advice about practicing self-preservation even when in the wrong, because sometimes it's better to shield yourself from ridicule than grovel at the feet of others.
So you told a lie. Big deal. The important thing is never to admit it.
But unfortunately for him, for the most part, he was sidelined and made to be insufferable. But the thing that's so painfully ironic about that is that Pierce's greatest fear was being excluded and ignored, yet he was written so often to just piss others off. And that's why, of course, in the darkest timeline, he's dead.
Enough with the timeline crap, Abed. Pierce got shot in the leg and died.
And this part is a little tongue-in-cheek because Dark Timeline Pierce comes back for 2 seconds just to say again that the others forgot he existed.
Here you all are planning an invasion without me.
Again, we thought you were dead.
But the point is, compounded with actually being old, the Darkest Timeline is the ultimate manifestation of Pierce's real-world fear of being so ignored that he lives in a world where he is effectively dead and not missed for it.
I'm getting sick of everyone assuming that I have nothing to offer. You know, in ancient Greece, it was considered an honor to invite a person my age to a space convention.
We didn't invite Shirley either.
Well, that's better then.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shirley.
Okay.
Shirley is an interesting character because the way she stood her ground in the entire series, you would think that she's not afraid of anything, and that actually we should be the ones afraid of her.
Leonard, you better back that pumpkin ass up or I will make a pie.
She had no issue shutting people down when she felt like it and telling people her real opinions.
You don't have a trademark on self-pity. I will defend myself.
But if you looked closer, there has always been a cloud of insecurity right next to her, kind of hiding in plain sight because it could be rattled easily with the right words. In a nutshell, Shirley didn't like to be made to feel like a hypocrite because that's what she thought she was, and so it hurt. It hurt more when you realized that Shirley kind of thought she was better than the others.
Are you a dishonest person?
No.
She thinks that's true.
You could have just said no.
In Troy's birthday episode, we saw that Shirley had a period of time when she drank a lot. She was very ashamed of this because it was the worst time of her life. A time where she truly slipped and couldn't juggle her family, her ambition, or even her faith anymore. But the pressure got to her and she got enthralled by alcohol to cope.
Had some bad years. With a chaser.
Come on! It's a funny picture because you act so perfect all the time. And because you look like a zombie, but it's not funny when you're sad.
And so in the Darkest Timeline, her exact nightmare comes true. It's literally the version of her that is her biggest insecurity. Dark Timeline Shirley, as metaphor, is potentially more agonizing for real Shirley to cope with than the others because it isn't a hypothetical nightmare. It already happened.
Get help.
Rubbing it in that her sobriety, self-control, and faith is perhaps even more fragile than she wants to admit. And really, even with all the metaphorical stuff stripped away, just being an alcoholic is one of the worst things that can happen to you. Jeff Winger could possibly be the most performative male character ever. I talked about this a lot in his video and how his arc is about eventually lowering his defenses and letting others in. But even still, for most of the show, Jeff's performative masculinity and personality are there. He hides behind cool detachment because deep down he's terrified of losing his looks, social status, and has a need to always appear well kept, well groomed, and unbothered. We eventually learned that this need was rooted in a panic that if he showed any vulnerability, people would see how hurt he was.
I'm just a grown man who can't even look his own friends in the eye for too long because I'm afraid that they'll see that I am broken.
In his video, I discussed the idea of wearing armor and how a lot of people wear armor as a shield or a front to their personality. In Jeff's case, what was protecting him was the performance. Even if parts of it eventually became real, his motivations were so backwards and came from a truly wounded place. This endless, suffocating need to appear put together, rich, handsome, happy, on purpose just to hide his pain is terribly sad.
Why would you pay a woman on the phone to think you're fat?
Because I'm scared that if I were overweight, that no one would like me.
Like, imagine if you put in conscious effort around your friends to appear a certain way. I don't mean like being unfiltered, just so that they think that you're coping. This is fucking so sad. And this is why, in the Darkest Timeline, Jeff loses his arm and becomes evil. Losing his arm in the Darkest Timeline might seem random, but this cuts deep. If the way he coped was being perceived as attractive, if his ideas of success and safety revolved around this preordained cookie-cutter curated version of himself, losing his arm would kill that vision and leave him to stew in that unsafe feeling of now not just feeling vulnerable, even less control physically.
I hate you! Shut up with your sci-fi crap! I lost my damn arm and you're making fake beards!
Goatees.
1. Troy.
Damn it.
I think Troy has gone through one of the more dramatic shifts in the show, not necessarily overall, but from season 1 to 2, definitely. Some people say that all that happened was he changed from a jock to a nerd, but I think it's way deeper than that. I think the biggest change was Troy evolved from a quiet, indifferent college guy to a fundamentally curious person. This is also low-key one of the best things that can happen to you.
The only thing that makes sense is this. Learning. Thoughts.
It's even more powerful when you have the voice to use it. The study group probably made him feel like he could ask anything, even if they teased him for it. And it didn't matter how silly or obvious they were. He eventually had the courage to asking all the questions.
I can't wait to understand these arguments. I knew I should have read that book. And if all we need is an scapegoat, I think we should just let this one go.
Sometimes you've got to be pretending, Troy.
Which is why I think Troy's worst nightmare was losing his voice. In the darkest timeline, Troy's larynx is destroyed by the fire, and of course this is a little bit of a joke, the way he loses it.
Troy lost his larynx because for some dumb reason he tried to destroy a flaming troll doll by eating it.
Clearly you don't understand anything about defeating trolls.
But the underlying nightmare is the same. The fundamental ability to just talk with others, to be heard, was now hindered. And what was perhaps even sadder is Troy could now no longer express all the joy in his heart the way he could. And as we know, Troy had so much joy to give. Like, he was a genuinely happy person. And it's maybe a fuck you to the audience as well, that we know someone so happy can no longer express that.
Evil Troy and evil Abed.
6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Britta.
Great.
Alright, now we get to lucky last, Britta. I will never stop loving Britta. She was then and is still now my favorite character.
Ropes? Vines. Vines? Let him finish.
Now I know even in the way I've been going through it, the darkest timeline is not a perfect metaphor for the group's fears or insecurities, but I still think it's pretty good. Not everything has a deeper symbolism or meaning. I just have a tendency to look for meanings even when there aren't any. For Britta, what I can say is that perhaps her greatest fear is not that something bad would happen to her as it relates to the darkest timeline, because nothing really happened to her. And I don't think her biggest fear is to feel more ridicule or more humiliation. She already gets about as much scorn as a human can in the real world. And in the video I made about her, the whole point was that what makes Britta so great is that she somehow manages to stand up constantly, even with all the shots fired at her, and all the time she falls over, she gets back up. So much so that I think the others were actually jealous of her the whole time, because they think if they were her, they would have given up a long time ago. So instead, what her greatest fear could be is exactly what happened. In the darkest timeline, all her close friends go through terrible traumatic events right in front of her, and so instead, she is made to feel helpless in the face of their pain, unable to aid their grief or heartache. And as we've seen, Britta has a genuine desire to help others, not just the people closest to her, but anyone who asks.
Life has gone to hell, Abed! This is real! Look at us! Look at me!
Britta, you put one washed away blue streak in your hair, and I lost an arm.
Exactly. Life got dark.
And I think that's exactly what scares her. The fear that she could one day be surrounded by all of her friends, suffering right next to her, with her unable to help.
We're all gonna get through this. We're all alive and we're all fine. And Britta, you're not the worst. You're the best.
He's right. Things are bad. But we're together. That makes this the perfect timeline.
Wait, there are other timelines?
Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think the darkest timeline represented. Maybe you have some different ideas about what each character's greatest fear was. Also, there have been so many things I was watching recently. I was like, it's hard to get through it all. Like Backrooms, Obsession, of course, loved it. Euphoria, Rick and Morty. I might end up making something about From after the season 4 final, because God, I have a lot to say about that show. And also just feel free to leave me some recommendations. I'm an absolute connoisseur of media and I'm always looking for my next Fleabag or Avatar. Take care. See you soon.